Hello. Um, this is just a quick video to show you the update for the the Infinite Rock Builder to 4.6, because I think this might be better to show as a video rather than just jotting it down in the manual. So there's a couple of things that have changed for 4.6. Firstly, you now have in every one of the formations, you've got an object UV mapping. So if you create a shape and you would rather have more control of how the rock is being displayed, you can just slide that all the way over to UV, and now it's based on the UV. So if we went into my UV editor and tab into edit mode and select all the faces, you'll see that if we scale it up, they get smaller. Okay, so that's your UV editor. That's the UV mapping. So every single one, as I say, has got object UV mapping now, and also so does the roughness. The color filters don't need it, and neither does the dust, because that's more based on object stuff. But you've got the same for the roughness as well, and obviously the texture paint node. When you texture paint, that's already set to UVs anyway. Okay, and the next big change excuse me, is the Cliff Top Flatten, and this is why I'm doing a video, because I think this is going to be easy to explain, because it's not complicated, but it's just not massively intuitive. I'm trying to improve it, but it's difficult because of the fact that I've got to do it for 2D shapes and 3D shapes. It can be tricky, so it's going to be easy to explain, and I've made it much more visual to understand. So let's say, excuse me, I'll show you the reason why I did this. So let's make a plane, mesh plane. I'm going to rotate it on the X, GX, and copy this material. So, and let's put we'll copy the modifiers as well, because I've got a simple subdiv set to simple, because if it's on Camel Clark, it will round it off, which I don't want at the moment. Okay, so yeah, let's say I've got this shape, and normally, as I say, the best way to get a rock face is to make your formation on just your bog standard plane and then scale it. Scale it up. So I think it's easier to create your shape small and then scale it up if you want something massive or anything. Anyway, so now if I can't see my overlay, there it is. So let's say that I'm happy with this and I want to make it better. So if I extrude up a bit, and then let's just go EX, extrude on the X, and again, excuse me. Okay, so this is the cliff face you've built, and it's exactly the same formation using the same information and data and mapping and all that as this plane. But what happens is, if we now do Cliff Top Flatten, we lose, because it's based on this level, on that plane. It's set up as default to be, if you had it just on one single plane, that is where the level for the Cliff Top Flatten comes in. And again, as you can see, it's just reducing the displacement dramatically, as you can see. And before, there wasn't a great way of making that move properly into the exact space that you want. Excuse me. So I've now put these controls in here, and I've removed these two. Honestly, I'm not 100% sure why I put them in. I looked at it and I thought, this doesn't make sense, Nick. Get rid of them. So we don't need them anymore. Everything you need for Cliff Top Flatten is here. And the easiest way to check the level, I mean, you can clearly see the level, but here I've put at the very top of the Cliff Top Flatten node group, excuse me, with Node Wrangler, of course, press Control Shift Click, and now we can see exactly where the level is. So anything below this line is going to be full displacement. Anything above this line is going to be, as you can see, gradually reduced. It's quite a harsh line, which is why when we look at it like this, that's not natural. So the controls you've now got to fix this. First off, you already know about 2D, 3D. If we'd had a 3D shape, let's just do it. Mesh, icosphere, move it on the X. So let's say this is your shape. We're going to want to copy that material. And you can see, because we're on 2D, this doesn't work. It's backwards. We don't want to have to rotate objects just to match it up. So all you need to do, as you know anyway, is switch over to 2D 3D. As you can see, it doesn't do great things for the 2D shapes, but it's perfect for this. But just for now, we'll stick with 2D because it's I've got two planes here. And let me delete that. Okay. Oh no, I didn't want to delete that. I just want to delete the icosphere. So this control here, smoothness. If you start to bring this up, upwards, what you're doing is you're increasing the contrast, so now it is an even more definite, loads of displacement, none. But if you start to bring this back towards 1 at 0, you'll notice that it starts to be I've gone too far. 0.5. So let me try that again. So now if I slide down, the closer I get to 0, you can see that it's a much smoother transition. So now, and I'll say this now while I'm doing it. Once you want to check, so you think, yep, that looks like the right level, and you've gone through you've Control Shift click this. Just go back to the reconnect here, pip, and then Control Shift click that, and it'll take you back to the top. So now you can see it's a much more gradual transition from a lot of displacement to very little. So you're controlling the smoothness with that. And what I've done with this as well is, because I thought you might want to do this, I don't know, is you can reverse it as well. So at the moment the smoothness is on, let's put it on the maximum, which is 3. I've limited excuse me, how far you can go, and I'm just Control Shift click that, so you can have it there, or if you go to -3, which is the maximum below, you can have the bottom instead be where the cliff top, it would be Cliff Bottom Flatten. You got Cliff Top Flatten and Cliff Bottom Flatten. Cliff Top. I amuse myself too easily. Cliff Bottom Flatten. It sounds like a Dutch word. Yeah, this Cliff Bottom Flatten. Grow up. So now it's at the bottom. So if you say this is in the water and you wanted like it way eroded close to the water, the rocks have eroded away, and you can do the same thing. So again, closer to 0 we go. So let's put 0.25. Oh, minus 0.25. Sorry, minus 0.25. That's too close. Minus 0.5. Alright, let's put, it's because of the level. No, come on Nick, get it right. Minus 0.8. Okay, that's definitely doing it. So this very small area is being displaced less, but for now let's go back to 1, so we're from the top, and let's Control Shift click this. Okay, nearly done. So that's how you control the smoothness. I had to make it more of a gradual thing. And the reason you've got all of the location and rotation axes is because when I was building a Minas Tirith scene and I wanted the very top of the rock to be flat, because I'd manipulated the shape so much, when I actually put the Cliff Top Flatten on and looked at the level, it was like this. It's just diagonal. Alright, so I needed a way to fix that, so this is what I did. So now you can, depending on what shape you've made, if you're trying to move this level up, you may have to try all of these. I'm assuming it should be Y, but let's find out, shall we? And I'll shift click. Yep, it's Y. So now I'm bringing that level up by shift clicking and reducing that way. So let me do that again so I can actually get a good level. So, and then obviously I'm going to want more smoothness, so let's put that to 0.5, because again, the closer to 0 you go. 0.25, the more smooth it's going to get. And let's just have a peek. I mean, that's still fairly, but it won't be so clear once we go back to the view. It might even make sense if I just up the displacement just to make that more of a thing. Let's go to like 1.5. Perfect. So you can clearly see that the higher, once it gets to about this point, it's starting to reduce that displacement to nothing. And again, if we put that, I've lost it, there it is, just to see that level, we just bring the smoothness up to 3, and there, that's where the level is. So that's why we brought that down to 0.4 maybe. Okay, and the rotation is just, well, speaks for itself. Because I needed to rotate it when I did this Minas Tirith cliff, I thought you might make a shape and you might need to rotate it to get it to work. So here it is. I don't know which axis it's going to be. Could be any of them. It's Z on this one. But again, depending on the shape, if you've switched over to 3D shapes, these may be different. And you might have to turn the Y or the X and move it up on the Z or the X. Well, unlikely the X. It's mostly going to be Y and Z. All right. But that's what that now does. I think it's much better than it was. I don't think it was in any way intuitive, and this isn't. It's intuitive enough. I think with an explanation, it's intuitive enough. You can get used to it very quickly, but that just gives you even more control now to either change the top or the bottom. And that's it. That's the changes for the Herb 4.6. Of course, I'll let you know if there are any more updates. And as usual, if you do have any issues with it, you can't figure out, please give me a comment or a message or Facebook, whatever. Wicked. I hope you're having fun with it. Enjoy. Bye.